YouTube. What's going on out there? So I'm at the White Rock Trailhead just south of Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm about to gear up for a little pack rafting / hot spring trip. Should be pretty dope. I hope you enjoy the video. If so, please hit that like and subscribe button, alright? It was a beautiful morning at the White Rock Canyon Trailhead that day as I got packed up. With all my camping gear, a boat, paddle, and 3 days worth of food, this was the heaviest pack I had carried in quite a while. Well worth it though for the journey that lay ahead. I had an interesting loop planned out that included about 8 miles of hiking and 4 miles of paddling. A relatively short distance for a 3-day trip, but that left me ample time to lounge around in the area's many hot springs. Unfortunately, the first 2 miles of this loop took me north right along the highway. Not the most serene hiking, but a necessary evil that was over pretty quickly. Once reaching the trailhead at Kingman Wash, my route descended into a dry gully, the hiking becoming much more enjoyable. I headed downhill, navigating my way towards Palm Tree Springs. This is an unofficial trail that can be difficult to follow at times and involves a bit of scrambling. The trail meandered its way down the wash for a ways, taking me at times through beautiful narrow canyons. After a few miles, the trail leaves the wash and heads up and over a small pass. From this point, with a keen eye, you can spot Liberty Bell Arch in the distance. A little further along, you'll get your first glimpse at the beautiful Colorado River. Eventually, you'll spot the namesakes of the springs below. You're not quite there yet, though. There's one last obstacle. A very narrow slot filled with vegetation. I had to remove my backpack in order to squeeze through. I really wasn't sure if I was going to make it. But I did make it through eventually, and it brought me to Palm Tree Springs and this perfectly framed view of the Colorado River. Once at the river's edge, it was time to unpack and inflate my trusty vessel. In this area, unless they're releasing water from Hoover Dam, there's little to no current at all, making it easy to paddle upstream. I headed upriver towards the mouth of Goldstrike Canyon, about 3/10 of a mile away. Goldstrike is well known for its incredible hiking and multitude of hot springs. My plan was to set up camp and spend the rest of the day exploring around there. When I arrived, however, there appeared to already be a super spreader event going on. Pandemic or not, this really isn't my kind of scene. I decided to turn around and look for a campsite further downriver. I paddled downstream about a mile to the mouth of Boy Scout Canyon. I arrived to find this campsite occupied as well. So I decided to pack up the boat and hike up canyon a little ways to see what I could find. The hiking was beautiful. The water was nice and warm. It felt wonderful on my cold toes, and it was a promising sign that I'd find some hot springs above. After about a half mile, I came across a nice little spot that I made my home for the next 2 days. It was a perfectly flat little spot just above the water. The best part about it was right below I had my own personal hot spring to soak in. It was very nice. My gourmet dinner that night consisted of instant mashed potatoes and a can of chicken. I scarfed this all down with the aid of an extra tent stake because I had forgotten my spork. It was delicious nonetheless. I spent the following day exploring further up Boy Scout Canyon. I was pleasantly surprised to find even more hot pools, just begging me to hop in. I obliged. Soaking in one of the springs, I was lucky enough to catch a glimpse of this guy. A lone bighorn sheep. This was one of the very few visitors that I had at my stay here. I also spent a little time paddling around on the river. The water down there is usually crystal clear. You can occasionally catch a glimpse of some of the fish. Rainbow trout, carp, and striped bass are said to frequent these waters. Spent a little time paddling too and hiking up some of the other side canyons as well. There are endless canyons to explore in this area. After 2 nights camped at Boy Scout Canyon, it's time to pack up and head downriver. It was a little sad to leave. I had a really strong tailwind that day, which made for a really nice lazy float downriver. Barely put my paddle in the water. After about a 3-mile float, I came to the mouth of White Rock Canyon. This is becoming an increasingly popular hiking trail. Very shortly after that, I was at my takeout at Ringbolt Hot Springs, also known as Arizona Hot Springs. My plan was to spend a little time soaking here before heading out. Unfortunately, there was another super spreader event going on here when I arrived. Quickly made my way through the gauntlet. After spending 2 quiet days alone at Boy Scout, it was a little much for me to be around this many people. I boogied out of there as quick as I could. I even took a fun little detour so I could get away from the hordes of day hikers making their way down to the hot springs. total, it was about a 3-mile hike from the river back up to my car. All in all, it was a pretty amazing journey. Thank you for watching.